Welcome, beautiful people. How we all doing today? You guys ready for another one of my videos? For those of you returning, I want to say thank you. For those of you new to my channel, this is Skelly by Nature. I am Skelly, and that's Hades you can hear in the background. I love the responses and the comments I have, and because of that, I had a few people who loved my first soap video and have asked me to do another soap video, but slightly different. So this is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be making what we call a loaf soap. The last one that I did more of like individual bars, poured bars. This is going to be a loaf soap. As you can see, I have a mold that's shaped almost similar to a bread loaf, and I'm going to be doing some different colors and different scents. So let's get started with some of the things that we're going to need. And so the first thing that you're going to need is I have 1 pound of white glycerin soap. Now, that's the first thing you need to decide, whether you want to go with a glycerin soap, whether you want to do a cocoa butter, whatever base you want for your soap. You got clear soap, you got white soaps, you got different types of... So that's your first base thing that we're going to need. The second thing I have is I have a 1/4 pound of cocoa butter that I'm going to be adding to this. You're going to need a big bowl, and I have a pot back here that I'm going to be using as a double boiler. If you don't do a double boiler way, if you have a container that can go in the microwave, you can also melt this in the microwave as well, and I'll tell you how to do that as well at the same time. I prefer doing a double boiler just because I can control my temperature a little bit. And so some other things that we're going to need is obviously we're going to need a cutter. So I have my nice little, this is what I like to use on my bars of soap when I'm doing a loaf soap, this is my cutter, as well as I have my mold. So like I told you, I have my mold is a loaf mold. We're going to need something to stir with, so a spatula, some rubbing alcohol for the end, that's going to help eliminate some of the bubbles. I also have 10 grams of apple sage. I probably would have gone with 14 grams, but all I had was 10 grams left in my bottle. Again, the essential oils that you use, you're going to want to play with those. Some people like a strong scent, some people like a weaker scent. I have like no sense of smell, so I tend to go on the strong end of things. So that's, what I have for now. And then the other thing I have is I have a red soap dye, which if you're going to before you pick your base, think about what color you want. Because I'm going to be taking red and adding it to a white glycerin, I'm going to create a pinkish color. If I wanted more of a red color, then I would go with a clear glycerin base, and that would give me my red color. So keep that in mind. The base that you use will affect the color that you use as your soap dye. So keep that in mind. Those are the things. So these are the things that we're going to need. So let me get set up and let me get to the first step of this, and I will show you how to do this. Okay, so the first step that we need to do, since I'm doing this in a double boiler form, I have got my water, I've got my bottom container here. I'm heating this water up. Right now I have my burner on high just to get this to a quick, easy boil. And then, like I said, I have my 1 pound of white Glycerin soap. This is what you call a melt and pour. You buy this at the store. They come in little kits, or you can buy it in big. I buy it in a big, huge chunk. And you're going to need a nice bowl. And so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it on top. Now, when you're doing this method, one thing that you're going to want to do is pay attention to the temperature. We don't want this to get hot. We don't want to burn it. So one other good thing to have on hand is a nice little point and shoot thermometer. You can use a candy thermometer as well, or any other type of thermometer that you might have in the house. But like I said, the main thing that we don't want to do is we don't want this to get too hot. We don't want to burn the soap. Same as in your microwave. So if you're going to be using a melt and pour, and you have, say, sometimes if I am going to do it in a microwave, it is a little faster, but you can burn. But when you do it, put it in your whatever container you have that you can put in the microwave. Throw it in your microwave for about 30 seconds, and keep your intervals short. Don't go too long. Don't say I'm going to do it for a minute and a half, because I did it for 30 seconds 3 times the last time, because you can go and burn this. And if you do that, you're going to create a bad smell and ruin your batch. So we don't want to do that. It'll discolor the soap. It'll give your soap a bad smell. So we want to keep this, again, a low temperature. The idea is we want to try to have our soap in that 120 to 130 degrees. Melting it, it's okay to be a little on the higher end, but when we go to mix things together, we're going to want to be in that 120 to 130 degree range. So I'm going to go ahead and melt this. And as you can see too, I didn't put my shea butter in. This shea butter will melt a lot faster than the glycerin soap. So I'm going to let the glycerin soap kind of melt a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my cocoa butter at the end. So as you can see, all of my pieces have melted down. The shea butter's mixed in. I got kind of a creamy yellowish color. I'm going to keep stirring this, because I'm going to say this is a little high in temperature wise. So I'm going to do a reading. Okay, so I'm roughly at 129 degrees right now. So I'm going to keep stirring this, because as you stir it, you're actually cooling this down a little bit. Okay, so now I'm ready to add my color. Now again, when you're adding your color, I'm going to go slow, put a little bit in, mix it in, until I get the color I want. And like I told you, I'm adding red, so I'm looking for a pinkish color, because I used a white glycerin. And I'm just going to keep adding a little bit until I find the color I want. Okay, so as you can see, I get a nice pinkish color to my soap. Some speckles. I'm not worried about them, because I'll add a little slight design to my soap. So again, if you have a thermometer, this is when you want to, again, take another measurement. Like I said, I want to be around the 120, 130 at max. If you don't have one, you can go to Target. I think I got this at Target for like $10, $20 maybe at most. They're cheap. Nice to have. Okay, so I'm just at about 120. So I'm going to go and pour in my essence, my oil. Stir that in. Now I'm going to stir this up really well. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side. Now my next step is I'm going to take my mold. Now one thing that I like to do with my molds that you don't see too much in other videos, is I like to spray the whole entire mold. And you're just putting a little rubbing alcohol in there. All it's going to do is when we do pour this in, it is going to take away some of those bubbles. So now I'm going to stir this up again. And now I'm ready to do my pour. So now I'm just going to take my bowl and I'm going to pour this right into my mold. So as you can see in my mold, I don't know if you can see it, I got a couple bubbles sitting here. So again, all we're going to do to eliminate those bubbles is another squirt of rubbing alcohol right on top. That's going to remove any of those bubbles. Now sometimes when you have these molds, they do tend to bow out in the middle. If so, you can just kind of brace them in the middle. This one's holding up pretty well, so I'm not too worried about it. And I'm okay if it's a little off-shaped. So now we're going to let this sit for a few hours. The nice thing about when you do small bars, like I did in the first video, is they're quick. They'll harden up quick. Now that I'm doing a loaf, this is going to be, take a few hours to harden up. So I'm just going to let that sit in there, let that harden up, and I'll be back in a little while and show you guys the final result. Okay, so it's been a few hours now, and the soap should be nice and hard. So what I like to do is I just like to kind of bow out a little bit so that it kind of loosens it, and then just take it, put it on there, and voila, I got my little soap. And so like I said, I didn't go mixing things very hard because I like to have those little speckles in there. And so now all that I'm going to do is go and cut some pieces. And there we go. Nice pretty soap. Nice little design. Now what you can do too, so I made a big batch, and it's going to take me a little while to go through this, being that I'm by myself. So what I like to do is I like to take and wrap my pieces. And if you want to wrap your pieces, just, I'm going to take the pretty side, put it down, and then just fold up piece of cellophane, and that right there will keep the moisture off of it. That way it doesn't mold on you or anything like that. And we got ourselves pretty soap. So once again, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and I hope you do me a favor. You know what to do. Hit that like button, share this with other people, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. There'll be many more videos to come. And until then, I'll see you all at the next video.